Chen Wei had planned everything perfectly. He had booked the corner table 3 weeks in advance, the same table where he and Lin Yu had their very first date, 3 years ago. He had chosen a Tuesday because she always said Tuesdays were underrated. He had even ironed his shirt twice, which was something he almost never did. The ring was in his jacket pocket. A simple gold band with a small diamond. Nothing extravagant. He could not afford extravagant on a teacher's salary, and Lin Yu had always said she did not care about such things. He believed her. He sat at the table and waited. Lin Yu walked in at 7:30, exactly on time. She looked beautiful. Her hair was down, and she was wearing the blue dress he liked. For one moment, Chen Wei's heart lifted completely. Then he saw the men behind her. He was tall, well-dressed, and completely at ease in the way that people who have never worried about money tend to be. He did not look around the room when he walked in. He did not need to. Chen Wei recognized him after a second, Zhao Kong, the youngest son of the Zhao Group family. His face had been in local business news more than once. Lin Yu sat down across from Chen Wei. She did not seem nervous. That, more than anything, told him what was coming. Chen Wei, she said, I think you already know what I need to say. He did not know. He had hoped he did not know. But somewhere very quietly, he did know. She told him it was over. She said she had been thinking about it for a long time. She said she needed someone who could give her the life she truly deserved. She said she hoped he would understand. She said all of this in a calm, practiced voice, like someone reading from a letter they had written and memorized. Zhao Kong did not say a single word. He checked his phone twice during the 3 minutes she spoke. Chen Wei sat very still. He looked at the ring box in his jacket pocket. He could feel the small square shape of it through the fabric. He reached in, placed it on the table between them, and stood up. I hope you are happy, he said. He meant it, which surprised him. He paid the bill on the way out, even though they had not ordered anything yet. The waiter looked confused. Chen Wei walked out into the night air and kept walking for almost 2 hours, not sure where he was going, not ready to go home. The weeks that followed were quiet and heavy. Their shared circle of friends slowly adjusted to the new arrangement, the way water finds a new path around a stone. Some of them reached out to Chen Wei, then stopped when the conversations grew too awkward. A few posted pictures online of Lin Yu and Zhao Kong at a beach resort. Chen Wei did not unfollow anyone. He simply stopped looking. He taught his classes. He graded papers. He ate simple meals alone and slept badly. He was not angry. Anger would have been easier. He was simply emptied out, like a jar someone had cleaned very thoroughly and left on a shelf. Then, 10 days after the restaurant, at 2:17 in the morning, his phone buzzed. The notification was unlike anything he had seen before. No logo. No company name. Just 4 lines of clean text on a plain white screen, many children system, initialized. Host, Chen Wei. Your first mission is ready. Accept. He assumed it was some kind of spam application. He almost deleted it. But something made him tap the screen instead, and what opened was the strangest, cleanest interface he had ever seen. No advertisements, no social features, no requests for payment. Just a mission description: organize 1 free tutoring session for 3 underprivileged students in your district. Reward upon completion, 500 yuan and 1 connection token. He stared at it for a long time. Then he thought, it is Saturday tomorrow. I have nothing else to do. He made 3 phone calls the next morning through his school's community liaison, found 3 students whose families had written in requesting academic support, and spent 4 hours on a Saturday afternoon in the school library going through mathematics and basic science. One of the students, a quiet girl named Xiaofan, 12 years old, with very serious eyes, solved a geometry problem in a way Chen Wei had not seen before. A genuinely elegant approach. He sat with it for a moment after she finished explaining, and then he said, that is actually better than the textbook method. She looked at the table when she smiled. That evening, 500 yuan appeared in his bank account from an unidentified transfer. Chen Wei sat at his kitchen table and looked at the number on his screen for a very long time. He spent the following week testing the system carefully. He tried to create a mission that would target Zhao Kang's business dealings. The interface locked him out for 48 hours and displayed one quiet line: "This system serves life, not personal scores." He did not try that again. Instead, he accepted a legacy mission: help a widowed father in his neighborhood set up a small catering business. The man's name was Old Guo, 53, with large hands and a recipe for braised pork that Chen Wei's colleagues later agreed was among the best they had ever eaten. Chen Wei spent 3 weekends handling the business license paperwork, finding a commercial kitchen at a reasonable rate, and designing a simple menu card on his laptop. When Old Guo completed his first paid delivery order, he called Chen Wei and did not say anything for a moment. Then he said, "I did not think I could do this." Chen Wei said, "You did all of it." "I just did the paperwork." The system rewarded him with something called a strategic opportunity token. He pinned it in the interface and kept going. By the third month, Chen Wei had completed 11 missions. His apartment, which had felt like an empty box since the breakup, now had a whiteboard covered in notes and a board of community contacts pinned to the wall. He was sleeping better. He was not healed, healing is not a switch, but he was occupied in a way that felt meaningful rather than merely distracting. The strategic opportunity token activated when Director Huang visited his school. Huang was a regional education official, sharp-eyed and direct, who had read a proposal Chen Wei submitted for an after-school science resource program. They met over tea in the staff room. Huang asked good questions and listened to the answers without interrupting. At the end of the meeting, he mentioned a rural community development project in Ningxiang County that needed someone who could organize people, earn trust quickly, and actually care about the outcome rather than the credit. "I will keep you in mind," Huang said. He called 2 weeks later. The project was real, government-backed, and starting immediately. Chen Wei took an unpaid leave of absence from the school and moved into a small rented room in Ningxiang. The system unlocked a dense cluster of new missions the moment he arrived, as though it had been waiting for him to show up. He organized family information sessions in community halls. He helped match unemployed residents with microloan programs he had researched over 3 careful evenings. He worked with a group of young mothers to establish a shared childcare arrangement so that several of them could return to work at the same time. The work was not glamorous. It involved a great deal of sitting in plastic chairs in fluorescent-lit rooms, listening to people describe problems that did not have easy answers. But Chen Wei was good at listening, and he was patient in a way that people recognized and responded to. After 2 months in Ningxiang, strangers greeted him by name on the street. A harmony mission asked him to help resolve a long-running dispute between 2 neighboring families whose conflict had made life miserable for the entire street. Chen Wei asked his Aunt Mei, who happened to be visiting and who had very strong opinions about most things, to help him. They spent 2 evenings sitting with both families separately, asking questions and not offering solutions until they had listened completely. The families did not become friends. But they agreed, formally and in writing, to a boundary arrangement that everyone could live with. The street felt lighter the next morning. The reward from that mission led, through a chain of genuine introductions, to Mr. Fang, a regional property developer looking for someone with community trust and real organizational skill. They met for dinner. Fang was practical and clear, the kind of man who had built everything by reading people correctly. "I want a community consultant on my next project," Fang said. "Someone the residents will actually talk to. Not someone in a suit holding a clipboard." Chen Wei looked down at his very ordinary jacket. "I do not own a suit," he said. Fang laughed. "Good. Come and see the site next week." After 5 months in Ningxiang, having completed 12 missions and helped transform a declining township into something genuinely alive again, the system delivered its largest reward yet, 300,000 yuan, and a formal equity introduction to Fang's development firm as a junior partner in a new community housing project. Chen Wei sat with the paperwork for a full day before signing. Then he called his mother and told her he was doing well. "How well?" she asked. "Quite well," he said. He returned to Changsha after 8 months away. He moved into a modest apartment near the river, not large, but with good light and a view of the water. He resigned from the school with a handwritten letter that thanked every colleague by name. Director Huang took him to lunch on his last day and said, without ceremony, "You are going to be fine." Chen Wei built the learning center 6 months after returning. It was housed in a rented ground floor space in a mid-range neighborhood, close enough to schools that children could walk there, close enough to a bus line that working adults could reach it easily. It offered free tutoring 3 evenings a week, job readiness workshops on weekends, and a licensed small group childcare program that allowed parents to work or study while their young children were looked after nearby. Xiaofan, the quiet girl with the elegant geometry solution, now 15, became one of his volunteer tutors on Tuesday evenings. She was preparing for her university entrance examination, and teaching others, Chen Wei had told her, was the best form of preparation. She had taken this advice with the same seriousness she applied to everything. He met Su Jing properly through a health outreach mission the system assigned him that winter. She was a pediatric nurse who volunteered on her days off, organized, calm, and completely clear-eyed about difficulty in a way that Chen Wei found quietly striking. They ran a home health awareness program together for elderly residents who could not leave their apartments, spending 3 consecutive weekends going door to door with information packets and basic health checks. By the 3rd weekend they were talking long after the work was done, sitting in the empty community center with cold tea and the overhead lights humming softly. They talked about their families, their cities growing up, the particular tiredness of caring about things. At no point did either of them mention the past. Chen Wei noticed, with some surprise, that he had been completely present in a conversation, not half somewhere else, not managing a quiet sadness, for the first time in a very long time. The Zhao Group's collapse came on an otherwise ordinary Thursday. The business news reported that Zhao Kong had made a series of land acquisition decisions using company funds without board approval. The resulting legal situation froze the family's public assets. Questions were raised about where certain funds had gone during a particular period. Lin Yu's name appeared in one article, not as someone charged with anything, but in the general accounting of Zhao Kang's expenses. Her job disappeared within a week. The apartment she had been living in was in Zhao Kang's name and became inaccessible. Chen Wei read the story over his morning tea. He finished the article. He set his phone down. He went to his team meeting. He completed his most significant mission that spring, co-developing a small residential complex in Ningxiang designed specifically for young families. Subsidized rent. On-site childcare. A community garden at the back that residents managed themselves. 18 families moved in during the first month. The system's reward made him, at 29 years old, a co-owner of the development firm. He called Aunt May. She cried. He did not, but he sat quietly for a while after the call ended, which was its own kind of feeling. Lin Yu called on a Wednesday afternoon, 16 months after the restaurant. Chen Wei was reviewing architectural drawings with 2 members of his team when his phone rang with an unfamiliar number. He stepped outside to answer it. Her voice was careful and controlled, in the way of someone who had decided exactly what to say before dialing. She said she had heard he was doing important work. She said she had been thinking. She asked if they could meet, just to talk, nothing more. Her voice was steady until the very end of the sentence, and then it was not quite steady. Chen Wei stood on the pavement outside his office building. The afternoon was warm and ordinary. I have a full week ahead, he said. Let me think about it. He went back inside and finished the meeting. He agreed to coffee 3 days later, at a small place near the river that neither of them had any history with. She arrived before him, which she had never done when they were together. She had changed in the way that difficulty changes people, not broken, but stripped of a certain ease that had always sat around her like a comfortable coat. She was still herself. But the confidence was gone. She talked for 20 minutes, carefully, about everything near the point but not quite at it. Then she reached across the small table, and she cried. Quietly, without drama. She said she had made a terrible mistake. She said she had never truly stopped caring for him. She said she would do whatever it took, if there was any chance of beginning again. Chen Wei listened to all of it. He did not pull away, but he did not reach toward her either. He was not cold. He simply was not moved in the direction she needed him to be moved. When she finished, he asked her one question. What do you think you loved about me, back then? She opened her mouth. She closed it. She looked at the table. He waited, but not for long. He paid for the coffees, told her he genuinely hoped she would be all right, and walked home along the river in the early evening light. That night he texted Su Jing, "Do you want to walk by the river?" She replied in 4 minutes, "Give me 20. They walked for 2 hours. He did not tell her about the coffee meeting. Some chapters close without needing to be explained to the next one. Su Jing told him about a difficult case at the hospital that week, a young child who had recovered unexpectedly well after a very frightening month. She described the look on the parents' faces when the doctor came out with the good news. She said she had gone to the break room afterward and sat very quietly for a while. That is the whole reason, she said. That one moment. That is what makes every hard shift worth it. Chen Wei looked at the river moving quietly in the dark. He thought about Xiaofan solving the geometry problem. He thought about old Guo's voice on the phone after his first delivery order. He thought about 18 families in Ningxiang settling into their new homes. Yes, he said. I understand that completely. Lin Yu sent one final message 2 weeks later. She said she understood. She said she wished him nothing but good things. She hoped he found everything he deserved. It was a graceful message, and he could tell it had cost her something to write it that cleanly. He read it once, set his phone face down on the desk, and turned back to the floor plans in front of him. The learning center was expanding. There was a new site available in the district near his old school, close enough that some of his former students could walk there. He had a meeting with the landlord on Thursday, and Director Huang had already agreed to write a supporting letter. Xiaofan had been accepted to Hunan University on a full scholarship. She had called him with the news at 7 in the morning, and he had not minded at all being woken up for it. The system sent a quiet notification that same evening, milestone achieved. Legacy stage unlocked. Chen Wei looked at the words for a moment. Then he closed the interface and picked up his phone to confirm Thursday's meeting. Outside his window, the city was doing what it always did, moving, building, humming quietly with the 10,000 ordinary lives that held it together. He had stopped seeing it as a backdrop a long time ago. It was, he had come to understand, the whole point.